everyone, I'm Ina Mann, filling in this week for Stuart Muir. Welcome to Higher Ground, the only show dedicated to finding common ground in the contentious debate over BC's natural resources. Proponents of British Columbia's emerging natural gas export industry and the provincial government felt the sting from some troubling news late last week. You may have heard about it. Petronas, the Malaysian state-owned oil and gas group, which is considered to be the closest to a decision on building an LNG export facility in BC, threatened to kill its plans for a $10 billion terminal near Prince Rupert. The company's CEO told the Financial Times in an article published late last week that a delayed regulatory approval process, plans by the provincial government to impose an LNG tax, and a lack of appropriate incentives could make the BC project unfeasible. The warning is certainly a shot across the bow as the provincial government is coming down to the wire on releasing an industry-wide taxation structure. Most observers say the Petronas threat, which they've made before, is a negotiation tactic. Certainly the timing of the comments point to that, as they were released at the height of the UBCM convention in Whistler. Premier Christy Clark insists things are on track and is standing firm on the government's strategy in its negotiation with the company.
I'm confident that Petronas and British Columbia are going to come to a good agreement, one that respects the fact that British Columbians, the owners of this resource, deserve some benefit. And I know what Petronas has an interest in doing, and that's representing their shareholders. And they are doing that.
We have more coverage coming up on the Petronas wrangling, but first, let's talk about what the energy companies are planning to build. Just what is LNG? In order to viably export natural gas to customers offshore via tanker, its volume must be greatly reduced. This is accomplished through the process of liquefaction, which happens at the site of export, such as the Tidewater port facilities that energy companies are seeking to build here on the coast of northern BC. Natural gas is first brought by pipeline from the gas fields in the interior to the export facility. Next, the gas is sent to filled tanks where it is cooled under pressure to approximately minus 162 degrees Celsius. The gas condenses to a liquid state, basically occupying a small fraction of its original volume at room temperature. Once in liquid form, the natural gas is sent by pipe and loaded onto a specially equipped double-hulled tanker, which then departs and transports BC natural gas to customers overseas. When the tanker reaches its destination, the process is reversed, allowing BC's clean and energy-efficient natural gas to power cities across the world. Exporting all that natural gas promises to deliver significant economic benefits to all British Columbians. The provincial government estimates that 5 LNG plants built between now and 2024 would result in 83,000 new direct and indirect jobs with an overall industry investment of $175 billion. However, there are some challenges to be met. There are new pipelines to build, regulations to navigate, First Nations to consult, labor to secure, and tax regimes to be figured out. There's also another more difficult hurdle to cross, the anti-everything crowd, as Vancouver Sun columnist Vaughn Palmer explained in his comments on the Petronas deal last Friday on CKNW's John McComb Show.
This comment should not be misinterpreted, John, but we do have a serious problem here in British Columbia with every project that comes forward, somebody doesn't want to build it. You know, the Lower Mainland doesn't want pipelines. The Peace River country doesn't want Site C. Every proposal in BC, mining, pipeline, LNG terminal, has a problem with First Nations over who owns the land, is there an overlap, what will it take to get it built. And collectively, we should be asking ourselves in British Columbia, do we want any of this stuff, and what are we prepared to do to get it? I'm not disputing there aren't concerns with every single project, but collectively, it's starting to look like we don't want anything.
Now, Now, to help us better understand these developing issues around natural gas exports in BC, let's turn to our very own Stuart Muir. We caught up with him in Whistler, where he was on the ground and in the know all last week at the UBCM convention. Hello, Stuart. I hope you're having a great time in Whistler. Tell us, what is UBCM?
Hi, Mina. The UBCM is the Union of British Columbia Municipalities. It brought about 1,800 people up to Whistler, most of the mayors and councillors from across British Columbia, as well as government officials from Victoria, lots of industry people.
Are you having fun?
ResourceWorks gave out hundreds of our "Without Natural Resources We'd Be Naked" buttons. They were a big hit. We saw them pinned onto all kinds of mayors and councillors around Whistler. People were asking us for multiples, and they really loved them.
Stuart, we've been just talking about what's been going on with Petronas. What was the reaction at the UBCM over the company's threat?
You know, on one of the mornings this week, about 150 mayors gathered for a breakfast meeting. They heard from the LNG minister, Rich Coleman, talking about this very subject. And I don't remember his exact words, but he said, you know, we're at the point in this deal where British Columbia is not going to be giving away its resources for nothing. Expect there to be a tax. Expect it to be a fair tax, one that is applied fairly across the board to all these different proponents, but there will be a tax. So I follow this pretty closely, and I can tell you that that was the first time I've heard from the BC government side that level of rhetorical pushback. So the fact that it happened during this particular week when we have 1,800 people gathered in the mountain resort of Whistler for the annual meeting of civic government, and they're talking about LNG, they're talking about resource development, they're talking about all kinds of things. It's not a surprise to me at all that into this context we would see proponents such as Patronas looking to insert themselves into the rhetorical atmosphere.
Stuart, we just played a soundbite of Vaughn Palmer from the Vancouver Sun on CKNW. He gave a warning that BCers are starting to appear to not be welcoming to any development anymore.
Yes, and I think Vaughn has hit a raw nerve, and a lot of people up in Whistler were talking about this. I talked to mayors, I talked to councillors from all around BC who see the same thing happening. So I think Vaughn, typically, as he is really close to the current of public opinion in BC, and I think he's absolutely right. And I was on a call last week. It was a conference call of resource thinkers from across Canada, and we had a very distinguished speaker on the call, Jean Charest, the former Premier of Quebec, who is now leading the Partnership for Resource Trade. He said, I'm traveling around the world right now talking to a lot of people, and what I hear all over the place is that Canada is getting a reputation as a place that cannot get things done. So, upon saying what Mr. Charest has been saying, I think it correlates to what I was hearing on the ground in Whistler.
And that's it for Higher Ground this week. Make sure you visit our website at resourceworks.com, sign up for our newsletter, and don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. For ResourceWorks, I'm Mina Mann. Thanks for watching.